Matthew Broderick made a movie in 1987 called Project X. Ever heard of it? No. Yeah, there's probably a reason why. Welcome to Half-Ass Movie Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Half-Ass Movie Podcast. The show where we put together a half-ass theme as an excuse to watch movies. My name is Adam Portress. Joining me today, I'd pay good money to see him kiss a monkey on the lips. Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet.
Never gonna happen, Portress.
And he doesn't like to get told to get on the scale either. Bruce Leslie.
Hey, I came to break hearts and rip farts, and I'm all out of hearts.
Boy, oh boy. We can smell it all up in here, everybody, because we are back at headliner Matthew Broderick, week number 2. We got him in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I would say, like we said previously, probably one of the quintessential Matthew Broderick movies. It's the one that I think everybody probably thinks about when they first think about him, out of on the Mount Rushmore Matthew Broderick roles. That's got to be one of them.
I think there are kids who have no idea what Ferris Bueller's Day Off is.
Well, or who Matthew Broderick is for that matter, I would imagine.
Well, yeah.
And they're like, here's Matthew Broderick. They're like, who's this old lady that you're putting in front of me right now?
That's what my daughter would say.
And they're like, listen, 40 years ago,
he's the Sackler guy.
40 years ago, he would have been the biggest man you ever seen in your entire life. Now he's just Matthew Broderick, and we just try to ignore all the bad parts. But we'll talk about some of those bad parts at some point. We'll get into them all and everybody. But this week, we are talking Project X from 1987. And again, so part of the idea of headliners, Matthew Broderick, is Matthew Broderick would headline in a movie, and his co-star in that movie would actually go on and not be billed under Matthew Broderick if and they were to star in any movies subsequent to this one. And our co-star with him in this one, of course, is Willie. No, I'm sorry, Helen Hunt.
Yep.
Oh, I see what you did there. I see, Adam.
So yeah, Matthew Broderick, we're not too far off from Ferris here, so it feels like we're still kind of in Ferris land a little, yeah?
I think that this is the like blank check for him, where what movie do you want to work on next, Mr. Broderick? And he probably picked this because 1987, you have no idea who anyone else is in this movie. And that's probably a good thing, because there was no way this movie was going to make money. There's no way.
You're telling me that people aren't lining up to see the chimp movie?
There's no way. Because I would guess that word of mouth from like the preview screenings, you get those critic screenings. Mm-hmm. You're going to learn real fast. Oh, this isn't a funny one. Like, this isn't a fun movie.
I got to tell you, man, from the moment I first saw the first trailer or the first ad or whatever for this movie, I was set on seeing it. Like, I couldn't see it fast enough. So I don't know, man.
I don't know if I'm breaking ground here with you and telling you something that you've never heard before.
Yeah.
Your tastes don't line up with just about anyone else that I've ever met.
Well, I love a good monkey movie, man. And I love Matthew Broderick. He was like right there with Michael J. Fox for me in terms of fandom, probably at this point in time.
It's funny you bring that up, because I was seeing that today, rewatching Project X, is that there is a connection between Michael J. Fox and Matthew Broderick, because they're such cute boys.
Mm-hmm.
They're so cute. Like, Matthew Broderick is so cute in this movie.
I was the exact same way.
It's so strange when we're supposed to believe he's an Air Force pilot too, because I'm still seeing, for obvious reasons, still seeing Ferris Bueller.
Yeah, 17-year-old kid.
There ain't no Air Force pilot in there. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, I've been shooting all these guys down.
At least he wasn't a fighter pilot, because all of a sudden I'm like, was this their answer to Top Gun? Like, was Project X Matthew Broderick's Top Gun, and I forgot it? Because I did remember this movie being very different than it is.
Well, we will get.
Oh, really? Because I saw this movie when I was a kid. I saw this movie on VHS when it came out, and immediately, I remember very distinctly that this movie was a bummer. Like, this movie isn't funny. This movie isn't fun. Like, this movie is basically 1980s Hollywood telling you how terrible the military industrial complex is, which is fine, totally fine. But it's not a movie that's going to bring the masses to the theater.
I love the concept because this is the 80s in a nutshell. A movie is made sort of chastising the exploitation of animals, and in the process exploits animals making the movie. That is the 80s, man. That's 80s Hollywood. Yeah. And when I see this, I'm just so overwhelmed with like the escapism I had as a child. You know, you saw this as a kid on VHS. I think I saw this for the first time at a campground. Like they would do movies at night where they break out like the old, the 8mm projector and pop up the print, and you'd watch it like on a bed sheet kind of thing. And that's where I think I saw this for the first time at Carter Caves. So I really had that extra kind of nostalgia worked into this, and it was so different than I remembered, but it didn't disappoint me.
How? Okay, so just to guess, if you don't know, what do you figure the budget for this movie was?
I'd say
I don't know it.
I'm going to say this was big budget for then.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say in the 10 to 20 range.
Okay, very good, because it's actually $18 million was the budget for this movie, which is wild. Wild. Total our opening weekend gross $3.3 million, so not a great opening weekend per se. Full US and Canada gross, you're looking at 18.
Let me guess.
Oh, please.
9 million.
18.5 full US.
Oh, wow.
Worldwide gross 21.5. So not a winner by any stretch, but certainly not the stinkeriest of stinkers.
It's a squeaker.
Yeah, just squeaking by. I figure it's probably, I'd think they'd call this a push if you probably count in, P&A.
Sure.
Do you want me to share my favorite unfounded rumor about this movie before we get started?
Okay.
So this was originally going to be produced at Warner Brothers, but Warner Brothers insisted on using little people in chimpanzee suits.
Sweet mercy.
Better movie.
So
Better
Lawrence
movie.
Lasker took it to 20th Century Fox.
Better movie.
I have no idea if it's true or not, but that is a story.
Hey, listen, I like enough of that.
I love seeing it. I love seeing a dude in a costume pretending to be an animal. It's one of my favorite jokes.
Especially a whole bunch of the little effers.
Thankfully, there's not a ton of that. There's one or two. We'll get into some of that. But before we do all that, let's say a big giant thank you to those people who support this show over at patreon.com/HMP. Those people get pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone. And, of course, they voted on headliner Matthew Broderick as our topic this month here and everything. So, again, thank you guys for all of your support and letting us know where you want this show to go. And get yourself a upcoming episode of Sean's Love Spaceships coming up. That's going to be a good one. And all kinds of things, man. So whatever you feel this show is worth, just put that in a dollar form, send it our way, get more things in the process, and, keep shows like this going. There's so many shows out there that you're going to listen to 45 minutes worth of ads for crap that you will never buy and do anything, and you get skip. You don't got to do that here. Just throw in a couple of bucks and send it our way. You don't have to listen to an ad about shavers or some crap like that you don't want. So we appreciate all that. And if you can't do that, man, at least tell a friend. Join us over there at the iTunes. Write us a 5-star review or send us an email, halfasspod@gmail.com. Tell us that you love us. We really like it. It makes us feel better inside. We love all of you guys. Thank you so much. Let's get into it, boys. Here is the IMDb plotline for Project X. As we know, IMDb 100% correct in everything they say and or do. An Air Force pilot joins a top-secret military experiment involving chimps, but begins to suspect there might be something more mysterious to Project X. This is directed by Jonathan Kaplan, written by Lawrence Lasker and Stanley Weiser, starring Matthew Broderick, Helen Hunt, William Sadler, Stephen Lang, Gene Smart, and Willie as Virgil. I love how the first people that are credited in the final credits there and everything are the monkeys.
Yeah.
I love it. Yep. It's great.
Oh, and by the way, something that I thought that was interesting, again, we're going, just after Ferris Bueller here and everything. Matthew Broderick above the title.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting.
That's why I think this was him saying, I want to make this movie. Because if you don't have Matthew Broderick, this movie doesn't get made.
No, I don't, or at least it's not made for $18 million. You don't.
Definitely not. Definitely.
I was going to say there's probably one or two people they could slide in, like he's not the only person who could make this, but you got to have a Matthew
You have
Broderick
to.
or
You also have to like this project, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, if they didn't have Matthew Broderick, then they need Michael J. Fox. They need a very similar person,
Yes,
to try and pull this off. Like, if they lose Matthew Broderick and try to plug in Kirk Cameron, it's not going to work.
Yeah, you mentioned Michael J. Fox, and that while watching this, that's what because we kind of talk about that on this podcast. Is like who else could do this? And Michael J. Fox was the name that ran through my head constantly, just going like, I bet he could do this because you're right. He's got that same pretty boy vibe and everything, same kind of slider build and whatnot. But again, I think at least for this particular role, I don't know that we should normally do this at the end, but whatever. But I think Michael J. Fox probably would have added a little bit more range into this role than I think Matthew Broderick does.
Imagine Project X with John Cryer's name above the title.
Here's the thing, though. If you put John Cryer in this role, it becomes much more of an overt comedy, and that might be a good thing. But then again, I like the idea of him as an Air Force anything is a bit of a stretch, I think, John Cryer. I mean, if you think Matthew Broderick is a stretch for Air Force, John Cryer's like a football and a half. It's bad. It's a long one, boy.
Speaking of like Air Force stuff, in my memory, there was a whole lot more monkey flying airplane than there actually was.
Okay. Let's talk about this for half a second because again, I knew nothing going into this. I knew it was Matthew Broderick, Helen Hunt. The name of the movie was Project X. Literally, that was it. I knew Jack. And all of a sudden, I'm just like, wait a second. We got monkeys. And you hear that it's a monkey flying thing. And I am like, from the beginning, my heart is going, they better not screw this up. They better not screw this up. And I am watching the entire time going, they are going to drop the ball. They are going to drop it so bad. This movie, I'm almost getting pissed. But that third act comes, we'll get to it, but it redeems everything.
Here's something I love about it is there's a part where like a background character has some almost like ambient noise dialogue that essentially calls out the Armageddon paradox of this movie. Because he says, well, why don't we just teach the chimpanzees to fly the bombers and the human pilots don't have to die at all? Like somebody actually says that in the background as they're running one of these tests. And I thought that part was awesome too.
Yeah, there's a ton of ADR in this movie. And at first, it took me like 10 seconds to figure out why. And of course, it's because they're in an echoey place, and there's chimps shrieking every moment.
I can only imagine what it was like being in there.
And you got to fill in all the gaps.
Not going to be great either.
You got to fill in all the gaps and stuff for storyline afterwards when you because there's a couple of those clearly where they're just like, we got to figure out what the hell's going on here because test screens came back and they were just like, we don't know what this is. Like, all right, quick, throw in 4 lines.
And in my memory, once again, I might have remembered a better movie than what we got, but I still really enjoyed this movie. But in my memory, like the chimpanzees were super smart, and I thought the radiation was like mutating their brain cells, and that it was kind of like a prequel to Planet of the Apes style, like creating super chimps. But that's not in here at all.
No, that was
super chimps. There's your movie.
Yeah, give me a super chimps.
Super chimps.
Make it like the Rats of Nim, but with chimps.
All right, let's talk about like the opening itself is great. You got your kind of like your plains of Africa or wherever and whatnot.
I think it's very disorienting. Like I have heard advice that like when you're writing a screenplay, don't whiplash people in the first paragraph, but like we cover 3 continents, I think, in what would be the first page of this screenplay.
We're all over the place, but it's great.
We go from Africa to I don't know, some kind of clearinghouse on a boat. Then we end up in Wisconsin, and then we're at this Air Force base that I'm not sure what state it's in. But man, you get whiplash before that monkey settled in.
And first of all, and I think this is probably the reason why this is a difficult movie to find places, is Peter Gabriel's Shock the Monkey plays. And my guess is
song.
It's probably hard to clear that for future
Yeah.
stuff.
Such a beautiful song too.
And it,
I would think
I love it.
I would think that there's probably very few people who are more, or I guess estates. No, he's still alive.
Yeah, he's still there.
There's probably very few people who are more apt to sue you than Peter Gabriel, I would think. Just because all that stuff with Genesis.
Yeah, I would love, and that's one thing while watching this. I thought, man, one of the boutique DVD labels needs to get a hold of this, because what we saw looked pretty good. I think if they went back to a film source, this movie could look amazingly good. It's shot by Dean Cundy, for heaven's sake, so that's why it looks
great. I mean,
as good as it does.
You sent us, I thought was good.
Yeah, but a real good scan of that. I'm sitting there going like, this movie could look fantastic if they've got the material to kind of redo it there and everything. And somebody should.
I'm gonna guess once Dean Cundy is no longer with us is probably when that starts happening with all his movies.
No, I mean I think he'd be fine on any of that stuff.
I almost feel like this is hidden enough and forgotten enough that it could darn near qualify as like a rediscovered classic.
That's what I'm saying. I'm telling you, this could come out.
No way.
I promise you.
This movie is too much of a bummer.
I enjoy it, man.
I understand that you enjoy it, Bruce. But what I'm saying is that general audiences are not going to enjoy this movie.
I disagree. I think once we get to that third act there, everybody is standing up and cheering.
Think of all of the people who immediately don't want to be told how to think.
Screw those people. They need to learn what they think.
That's part one. Part two is you got the people who are mad that they thought that they were going to see a funny ape movie with the kid from Ferris Bueller. And it's not. It's none of those things. I think that there's a lot of this is a very strange movie. I think that this thing could become a cult classic for sure. But getting to a point where it's like Escape from New York level, that's never going to
No, it's not going to get to like Escape from New York level, but I
can just see it having little TikTok fandom, a little bit of like the rediscovered, forgotten kind of classic.
I will say this. Knowing what I know about like boutique DVD labels and stuff like that, and some of the stuff that they put out comparatively, this is gold. This will be gold and I think honestly would sell and would be a thing that I think people could come back and go, oh, this is actually a lot of fun. And it is. This movie is a lot of fun. And I was you had Chekhov's monkey flying the whole time, and when we finally get it, like I'm cheering. Like it's like it got the reaction this dumb movie was supposed to.
I'm not going to tell you that I don't like this movie. I like this movie just fine. It's just the level that you guys are praising this movie to, I don't think is what this movie is. I think it's the reason why it's been forgotten is for that very reason.
Yeah, well, you're not wrong in as much as like there's no like super through point. Is like it's not funny enough, it's not dramatic enough, it's neither quite one of those things, so it doesn't quite fall into a particular itemized category. You can't be like, oh well, this is a kind of a romantic comedy with him and Helen Hunt and we got like an ape involved in that. It's not that, but it's not a dramatic one per se. It is a little bit, but like it's not enough dramatic stuff to, it's not drama. It's not drama enough to be a drama. It's not comedy enough to be a comedy.
You think anybody ever?
No, go ahead, Bruce.
You think anybody ever watched this under the misunderstanding it had something to do with Wolverine with a name like Project X?
I mean, like, listen, as far as I was concerned, it could have been
young Wolverine.
But man, you talk about the worst casting ever. Matthew Broderick is Wolverine. In 1999, no less.
I don't believe in Beatles. I just believe in me. Of course, he would say that. He was the walrus.
Look at you.
I'm Logan. Please call me Patch. So, the other part to this too, because here's another thing that's going to shut off half of your audience. The people who are still there is you're murdering monkeys by irradiating them at the about the halfway mark of this movie. There are people who are not going any further once you hit that moment. I will tell you today that Lindsay came into the room and was like, "Oh my God, what are you watching?" I was like, "You cannot watch this movie." And she was like, "I'm not going to say anything." I was like, "That's not what I'm telling you." What I'm telling you is that things are happening to the monkeys in this movie that are not going to, you are not going to be able to take it.
Sometimes a child's mind will deal with trauma by blocking out the actual memory with the false memory. And I really think that because it was pretty horrific to see the monkeys get radiated to death, that my mind created the better alternative story that they became super monkeys. Like, I honestly think that's why I had that false memory.
Probably.
Pretty traumatizing for a kid who's pro primate. That's a rough thing to watch.
Sure.
I will say this though, like the way that they show it and everything with the monkey kind of staring back, it's very powerful.
Yes, it is.
Really works. And like, so it, at
Yes.
least to that degree, it's not at all really making fun of the situation or anything like that. It is like, again, when it's going in the slow-mo and like the monkey's just like staring right back at him, it's just like, that's some powerful shit coming out of a monkey, man. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
But I also think, again, we're in the 80s and stuff, and in the 80s we could do things to traumatize kids. And frankly, I thought, let's look back at it. I think it did good stuff for us. Like seeing, Artex die in, Never Ending Story, it helps develop you as a child, like there's things like that just like some of these things that you've got to, ET's got to die for a little bit or be on the edge of it and everything. It's, that needs you, but it brings you back at the end. And like I said, I think the third act brings you back enough, and at the end that it makes
nothing
pay off.
helps you. Nothing helps you know who you are quicker than a gremlin dressed as a sexy chick with lipstick on. I mean, you see that and you really start to understand who you are as a person.
It's true.
But there's also like a little element of that in this as well, with kind of Gremlins-esque, but obviously they're real apes.
Got Gremlins-y in my opinion when the smart monkey started leading them to like create some chaos. I did have that gremlin feeling.
But you got all your like little, like your one guy, Goofy, there in the cage where he's finally, sees the key and devises a way to go and get it and everything. And like that's just stupid crap is fun. And like, and again, for a PG film that's aimed at kids and everything, that's right up the right alley. I think I would have liked this if I was like 8, 9 years old. All right,
well, so I definitely did. I mean, I was a little bit older than that when it came out, but I enjoyed it.
Let me ask you this: Do they, with the Goliath monkey, do they still, if they were going to make this movie now, which they never would, they would never ever make this movie now.
No,
but if they let's say somebody with a lot of money who's dumb is like, let's remake Project X. There's no way they have that monkey smoking cigarettes, right?
There's no way they have Matthew Broderick smoking cigarettes. I'm with you on that.
I just like how they're smoking cigarettes in like
medical facilities. In a medical facility. Yeah.
Yes. And it's not even like, it's a fair amount of smoking in a medical facility.
Yeah.
That was a classic of the performing chimpanzee. Still, I think in 1987 was they would smoke
without a doubt.
Listen, there's something about
a cigarette
it.
And read the paper with some glasses on, that kind of goofy stuff.
Got a cigarette or a cigar or something like that, and then like they all look like George Burns, which don't help it none anyhow, But there's like, I don't know, man. There's something magical about a monkey. It's like it's between a dog and a human. It's like right in that little sweet spot where you're just like, you look at it and you're like, oh my God, it's adorable. And this monkey, this lead monkey, adorable.
That's the closest I got were my lemurs, but I spent a summer with the lemurs and it's pure heaven.
Did you guys recognize Stephen Lang?
I thought that he looked sort of familiar, but I wouldn't have known it was Stephen Lang till I saw the credits.
I didn't know it was him. Because I'm watching the credits and his name pops in, and I'm like, Watts? Who's Watts? And so I had to go to the internet and saw a picture of him as Watts, and I was like, holy hell, that's Stephen Lang. Crazy, unrecognizable to me.
The biggest impact he made on me is almost immediately I jumped to the conclusion that the guy in the cowboy hat touches those monkeys inappropriately. Like he really did have that vibe.
It was like, yeah, I didn't. I mean, I saw his name at the beginning credits, but he didn't jump out to me. Jean Smart obviously did because she's like, bam, right front and center there and everything. She's in it for 4 seconds, but lovely to see her.
Beautiful,
man.
as always.
I love Jean Smart, man. I think she's great. I think she's great in everything she does.
But she's like, hey, come on this monkey movie. You'll only be here for a day. She's just like, well, no one's going to see this, right? And they were like, right. And they didn't.
She was right.
That's what you would if you're a production assistant on Legion, you come up to Jean Smart and you be like, I loved you in Project X. See what happens.
Yeah. Everybody's talking about designing women or whatever. You come in with a Project X off the top rope, you're gonna do okay.
She just goes, you know what? Project X was like, it was a fun time. We had a really blast on that set. And she starts going off on her one day.
You remember she was in the Watchmen thing on HBO too, right?
Yeah.
And she had that what I will call that very large marital aid that she pulled out of a bag.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
Its nickname was Project X.
Project Bluebeam for sure. My word. Helen Hunt is kind of a, like I said, so in the whole headliner Matthew Broderick series, the next person in the cast here who's going to go on to big fame and fortune after this is Helen Hunt. And
I like the idea that Matthew Broderick was a big fan of trancers, and that's how she got this role.
How is Helen Hunt in this movie? She's fine. I mean, like she's doing
Helen
anything.
Hunt, man. You cast Helen Hunt, you're gonna get Helen Hunt, and Helen Hunt is very pleasant, but very much the same.
She is very Helen Hunty. There is something about her that I find fascinating, especially seeing her in something from 1987, which is that how old do you think she is in this movie? Probably 20, 21, 22.
I think she was 21 when she made Trancers, and this would have been not long after that. So yeah, she's 25 max.
Yeah. And she still seems like somebody in her 40s in this movie.
It's the oversized clothes, man.
It's not only that, it's the way she holds herself. It's her voice. Like there's a lot going on.
There's a little bit of the hair, and Gillian Anderson has a little bit of it as well, where the face is a little rounder when they're younger and stuff.
I mean, Helen Hunt does have like hot mom vibe for sure.
So she has this thing, like it's that kind of thing where you're like, she looks like somebody's mom, but I know she's a kid.
Yeah.
Like it feels that way watching this movie. And it's also like, it's almost like its own special effect, to be quite honest with you. It's what it feels like, where it's like, look, I know that she couldn't be older than, as we put, 25, but she really does seem like she's 40 in this movie. And it's kind of captivating. Like I can't tell you if she's a good actress or not, but what I can tell you is that my eyes immediately go to her when she's in scenes.
I mean, this was probably her biggest role since Trancers. I made that joke, but I'm looking over her filmography, and she had that part in Peggy Sue Got Married that we watched not too long ago, and then not really much of anything that I think you'd recognize, and then this.
She's fun. I like her enough in this. I recently rewatched Twister because I got that on 4K and everything. So that's 94. She's a couple years later here and everything. She looks almost the exact same age.
Yeah.
But you know what I like about that movie, though, when rewatching that? You look at Helen Hunt, you look at Bill Paxton, and they got some age on their face, boy. They look their age in these movies and stuff. And like today, they would not be allowed to get away with this. Like that young lady wouldn't. That young lady, they'd be like, nope, there's no way we're letting you on with those, forehead wrinkles and stuff but she looks like a real person. And that's what's so great about that. It's like you got just that cavalcade of amazing character actors and stuff where everybody looks like a real ass person who would be storm chasing and stuff. And she falls in that category as well.
And I better be able to bounce this nickel off your butt.
Yeah.
She holds on to a little bit of like something that feels like it's from a bygone era. And I always like it when some of that stuff still hangs around.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this. I am glad that at least for the most part, we really don't have or pursue any kind of romantic relationship between these two. And that's a good thing because I don't think it would work.
Nope. It's pretty great the way that they do that.
Did you guys catch the super brief appearance by Dick Miller?
No, I don't think I did. I feel like I feel like a Dick Miller would have just popped out and been like, "Hey."
Dick Miller was you mainly just hear his voice. You don't see him so much, but he's the broker when they're going to buy that says, I don't care if you are with the military. I got to sell the animals, and a chimp like this doesn't come along every day. That's Dick Miller's voice.
They're on the docks. That's Dick Miller's voice, huh?
Yep. Max King, Dick Miller. And then that's it. He never shows up again. But he's, as a guy who's a fan of the Corman type movies, I'm a fan of Dick. Well, everybody who knows from the old Hero Movie Podcast days knows that I like the hammy acting.
King of the cameo, that Dick Miller.
Yeah, he is.
Let's talk about
William Sadler, man. We got to talk about William Sadler.
So great.
He is great in this. He's William Sadler. He comes in. You bring him in the 8th inning. They call for the right-hander. He brings the heat wherever he is. There he is. I never put this together before watching this movie, was that William Sadler has the quiet thunder. There's always something with him where you're like, well, there's something going on with that guy, even though I've never heard him raise his voice ever.
Mm-hmm.
And he's pretty, like, he can hold you with a stance or with a glance,
Steely eyes.
He does it a couple of times to Broderick in this movie, or his character does, where you're just like, this guy is bringing heat, and he's barely in this movie, but he's just so great.
He's not in a monkey movie.
No.
You know?
And another thing that adds the contrast is, in my mind, he's, from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. That's kind of all I know him from. So that's like 2 reasons I should be expecting him to act silly. He's in a monkey movie. He's Death from Bogus Journey, but he's saying, I'm going to play this as if this is my action debut. This is Hunt for Red October to me.
The first time I ever noticed William Sadler is Die Hard 2, because he's one of the bad guys in Die Hard 2.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you want to see what that guy's butt looks like, Die Hard 2 is the perfect way to see that.
You have a timestamp.
You got to go to Mr. Skin, but I'll bet you money he got it.
And ever since then, I've watched him in other things because he does crazy good too. Like, because the thing that I'm always interested in is like, the guy who is the bad. I can't remember the actor's name, but he's the bad guy in RoboCop, and he plays Red on that 70s show.
Yeah.
The range on that guy, I think Sadler has that same style range.
Yeah.
Where he can go full crazy mental patient, but he also can play death.
Kurtwood Smith. I knew he'd come to me if I thought long enough.
Kurtwood Smith. There it is.
But yeah,
and I think Sadler has that same level of range.
Yeah, I mean, Shawshank, The Mist. I mean, the guy's a pretty decent resume, that dude. Holy crap, I didn't realize 182 credits for that actor. Woo! Lord have mercy, he is busy.
Yeah, he's in everything because he does TV too.
Yeah, exactly. And he's one of those guys that I think that, you could just call him up and he'd do a pretty decent job at something. And the movies like this are clear examples of that, where it's just like, you know what? We're going to get Sadler in here. He's just going to knock it out of the park. And he does.
I'd say he must know what he's doing, because nobody gets 181 second chances.
No, not a ton of those. Not a ton.
Sadler wary.
Ooh, I like it.
Okay, so let's talk about what I feel like is a little bit of a glaring hole in this movie. So the idea here is that we've got all of these monkeys from, parts unknown. We bring them in, and we train them to fly. We put them in these little, which, by the way, very cool little flight simulators. I love the setup. I love the way that the chairs look, the little CRT monitors on it.
Yep.
The fact that it looks like a Nintendo 64, like 10 years before Nintendo 64 exists, is awesome.
It just so dripping with a certain kind of retrofuturism that labels the 80s as much as other stuff does the 60s or 70s.
So very cool looking.
It made me miss the feeling of awe I would have looking at that stuff when I was young. Like, I wish I could crank back that innocent impression that I could have from that kind of simple stuff.
So we get through, we teach these monkeys how to do the flying and everything for the what we find out is like a kind of a bombing run thing or whatever. And then once they finally graduate, they figure out how to properly fly these planes here and everything. Then we teach them on and send them into the next phase of the program. But as is with every phase of this program, our Matthew Broderick character knows jack squat all about everything. Have you boys ever shown up to a job and on day one they're just like, well, have at it? They don't tell you really anything or why you're doing anything or what the goals of anything are. They just say, here's your job, go.
All I could think was as soon as he shows up, the guy hands him a leash and says, here, take that monkey over there and weigh him.
I do what now?
the one thing I'm thinking is like, do they really need a person to tell you to do it and then a person to do it? Because it kind of looked like unnecessary duplication of labor there. But then also I thought of any job where you would ever do anything of importance without like 14 hours of new employee orientation and signing off on some videos and stuff now.
Yeah, he doesn't even realize he's doing anything with monkeys until he opens the door of the monkey facility. He's like, oh shit, I'm working with monkeys today.
The part that gets me is that when he's taking the first monkey to its monkey death, everybody in that room knows the score, knows what's happening, including the other monkeys.
Yeah.
And he's the only person, it seems like, in the entire facility that has no idea where he's going.
What he's doing.
What's about to happen.
No clue. They just tell him, they're like, congratulations, you've gone from weighing the monkeys, you are up to the next scale. We're not going to tell you what it is until you are in the middle of doing it.
And let's just say, regardless of anything else, any other experience in life, if you walk into a government facility with a bunch of animals in cages, you kind of know things aren't going to end well for those animals, right? Like there's no surprise when you find out something.
We're making all you monkeys sergeant. You're going straight to the
top. So I couldn't imagine what he thought he was getting into. You know what I mean? As soon as you walk in to a government run facility with monkeys, you're like, oh, they're either killing those monkeys or sticking stuff up their butt. There's no in between.
I do like that. That's the diagnosis for him is called you stole a plane and made out with a girl drinking champagne and stuff, and your penance is you're going to the monkey test flight facility.
Well, that's because they do tell you why that happens in the movie. I mean, there is a explanation for it. It's because the guy knew his dad.
Yeah.
And he didn't want him to get kicked out of the Air Force.
But I love conceits like that. Anytime there's just like, listen, I would kick you off this thing here, but your father's a good man, a hell of a guy. And you know what? It is just on account of him that we're gonna do this one favor, and we're gonna send you off to Monkey Island. And he didn't even know it's Monkey Island till he gets there. That's the best part. No clue.
The part I don't understand is that you got the monkeys in the cages, right? And you got basically a wall of cages.
Mm-hmm.
Why are there monkeys so high up that you can't get the cage? You can't get to the cage with your by reaching just yourself.
You got to get a ladder.
That would never happen ever. That would never happen ever.
But it looks cool.
There's also another thing that makes me crazy in this movie, which is the conceit that she walks into the officers' quarters, where like they're hanging out and there's pinball machines and people playing poker and smoking and drinking, and there's music playing, and she's about to leave, and she hears Matthew Broderick's voice, and just by hearing his voice, knows that that's him. In a crowded, loud, music blasting, like
officers,
soldiers,
lounge.
Whatever that is. I don't even know what to call that. And airmen, they're airmen. They're all airmen. So like, what I'm not understanding is like, okay, let's say she can hear his voice, which she never could have done.
First of all, I think she could, because let's be honest, his voice is far. It's like, listen, all of these men were here and I was listening to them. And then I hear your teenage little boy voice. And then I go, hey, that's the fella I was talking to. The rest of these boys are men.
As soon as she
opposite.
As soon as she
Sorry, go
hangs
ahead.
up the phone, she says, "Man, that guy sounds like Ferris Bueller," because there's nobody that's
There
gonna sound
you
like Ferris
go.
Bueller.
There
The other
you
one.
go. But if it's reversed, I'll give you that. Like if Matthew Broderick has to find Helen Hunt, like that, I understand because she's got that voice that's like this.
Yeah.
She's very easy to find in a crowd. But like Michael, but Matthew Broderick's voice, it doesn't carry. You know, it doesn't carry because it's all nasally, and so like there's no way she's picking that out. And with that being said, on a base, on a base, there are thousands and thousands of military personnel. So the fact that she's walking into this place where they all hang out when they're not going to leave base, and she's able to find this guy, even though she doesn't know anything about him, is just ludicrous.
I'm fine with
Of course you are, but it's crazy.
No, it is. It's
That
really
part is
stupid.
really ridiculous. Yeah, I got to agree with you on that. That it's pretty ridiculous that she would find him, but you got to keep the movie moving, man.
Of
You
course.
can't let
I
these
understand the
chimps sit
plot
back
needs
waiting.
that to happen. I understand that. But it's one of those things where I'm like, look, guys, I'm there with you training monkeys how to fly airplanes. Okay. That part I get. But how much further are we going to stretch credulity here?
Well,
Anyway, in my memory, every monkey was off flying planes and they were being chased by humans in planes. So this was very different than I remembered.
so we go through, we train the monkeys. The monkeys are going to have their flight plan here and everything. Then they graduate. We finally get them on. So then they go to, which looks pretty. I will say this: the whole set design and everything. This is where all that money went, was into making all these damn sets. And we get to this flight simulator there and everything. And I am thinking at this point that this is as far as we're getting with these monkeys flying. So I'm a little pissed because I'm just like, man, if this is all we're doing with these monkeys, y'all been jerking me around this whole film. But we get to this point and everything, and so we got them doing the flying, and in the middle of the flight run there and everything, your little pedestal comes out of the ground and eventually, irradiates, the shit out of the monkeys or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why do they need to be flying for this particular thing? Why do we need to have any of this? Why can't you just irradiate these monkeys?
That was the same question I had.
You don't have to do any of this shit. Irradiate the monkeys. Flying's got jack all to do with it. It has no problem. There's no reason. None.
I figure either you train the monkeys, they fly the mission, you don't have to worry about the humans, or you just test the radiation on the monkeys, but you don't do both.
But exactly. If we were training them to do bombing runs, that's a different thing. And frankly, that's what I thought we were doing at first. But like, oh shit, we're teaching monkeys how to run bombs. Awesome. But we're not. We're testing the effects of radiation on them. You don't and they don't even come up with a bullcrap reason like, oh, well, what the in flight it's a different kind of blah blah blah. No, it's just we need to figure out what this is. Why go through the theatrics of training a monkey to fly a thing that don't make any damn sense? You're never sending them out to the field. You're not doing that.
Here's what I feel like, and you tell me if you think I'm way off base here, Sean. But I feel like first draft is they were training the monkeys to fly combat missions, and they were trying to rescue Willie Virgil so he wouldn't get sent to war. And they said, no, those stakes aren't high enough. That's a little too far-fetched. So we're going to add in the radiation so the threat's more immediate, and it's not like going off to war. And
it does feel like you're right. It feels like there's a bunch of steps
layer without turning back the first one.
Right. It feels like there's a bunch of steps in the writing process of this movie where it was probably something completely different in the beginning. I think that the fact because there's so many jumps of logic that you have to make on this watching this movie, but it does stagger those steps, which is pretty clever. But I think that there's too many steps, man. You got a simple movie where a cute boy is trying to save a cute monkey. Like that's literally what the movie is.
Yeah.
And you have 10 steps of difficulty between those two steps.
But you care about the monkey. They do a great job of giving you the monkey's kind of personality a little bit here and everything. And again, it's a super cute monkey, so you're doing yourself a lot of favors with that. He's adorable, and clearly the actors are having a good time with this monkey. That's a cute ass monkey, dude. If you couldn't ask for a better looking one. And I'll say this. All of the monkey acting.
For better looking monkey.
I'm telling you.
I've seen some good looking monkeys, man.
All right, we'll compare monkeys after the show. But
that monkey is stunning. I think we can all agree that is a stunning monkey.
And here's not for nothing, Dean Cundy catching all the light in these monkeys' eyes and stuff like that. Good stuff, dude. Awesome. It really looks great. But the monkey acting in this is really fantastic. They do a great job wrangling these things around and doing enough of the right shots and stuff. And it doesn't look like they're trying to, wring a performance out of them.
This movie swept the monkey Oscars.
It does great at the Apies. But yeah, I was shocked. I was shocked at, like, number one, how much monkeys were in it, how good the acting of those monkeys were. I just, again, really, really shocked. And we were, because one of our Dinger Zone is all our top 5 favorite monkey movies and stuff like that. This one not on the radar, but, like, I gotta say, it's, as far as quality of monkey and the monkey amount that you get in this movie, you're hard pressed to find one that's going to be better.
There is some really good monkey acting in this movie. I have to say that the other really kind of crazy thing about Virgil is I don't have nearly the love for monkeys that Bruce has. Like, I'm not saying that I dislike monkeys. If I'm fine. Me and monkeys are A-okay. But the thing that is really surprising about this movie is that I know who Virgil is. If I see all 6 monkeys out of their cages running around, I know which one is Virgil. Yeah. And that's pretty damn impressive.
And they got the beard one, the blue beard, and, like, there's like 2 or 3 others that you kind of like, okay, I kind of recognize them.
Do you guys know if Virgil ever worked, like, before or after in entertainment, or, like, do you guys know anything about Virgil's history?
I can certainly find out. Give me 1 second. His name is Willie. He's the 5th one. He's the 5th credited Willie actor, and Project X is his only accomplishment, it seems.
Have you checked CIMDb?
No, not the CMIDB. They have probably a better calculator than we do.
Is there a chimpanzee IMDb for real?
Why would there not be?
Oh, I was excited for a minute.
Oh man, I'm trying to look through all of these monkeys. It looks like they must have killed all these damn monkeys.
And
because they've all been in just
BJ
Project
and the
X.
Bear is awfully cute. You know, you're talking about stunning monkeys. I think BJ and the Bear had a good one. That's why I thought it could have been the same bear, but it's not.
Yeah, all right. Where do you stand on the Capuchin or whatever, the little tiny monkeys? Are they better or worse?
They probably poop all over the place.
Yeah, you look at them and they look like poop flingers, don't they? Because they're all
look
tiny.
Like little devils. Those look like little devils to me.
Yeah. That one's gonna wake up having, like, it's like grabbing your ears and looking into your face and screaming. I don't need that out of a monkey. No, thank you. That's how it wakes you up, and you're like, shit. No, thank you, man. Oh my god. Oh, I just gave myself a nightmare tonight, I'm sure. This little evil monkey just.
I mean, let's talk about the greatest monkey acting moment of all time that happens in this movie. I will credit this movie with this. Is Virgil not wanting to be weighed on the scale.
Oh yeah.
That is so sweet, man.
That is such an amazing bit of monkey acting where it's almost like the monkey not only is doing the thing that it's supposed to be doing, it's like it read the script.
And it's doing it in
also
time.
Like, hold on. It's also like the monkey has a comedian's timing.
Yeah.
It is so good.
So good.
And they're doing these things in medium wide shots and stuff. They're not sitting there and cheating a whole bunch of it either.
There's no fake monkey leg.
And as far as the timing goes, everybody knows that chimpanzees are nature's Henny Youngman. So we all understand that.
But we finally get to the point where it all pays off. And because I was sitting there going, like, the first one, I'm like, oh my God, we're going to have, like, the second I learned that we're having monkeys flying, I'm like, this is going to be great. We're training monkeys to fly. And if we don't have monkeys, and I am like, when we get to the simulator, I'm like, shit, this is all they're going to do is they're just going to give us a simulator. And but as it goes on, I'm like, they are going to give us monkeys in a plane. And I thought they were going to chicken out even at the last second. They had me. They had me like a small child because I was just like, oh man, they're not going to have this. And I was like, because even when they pull them out of the plane, it almost, because you don't see the monkeys in the back. So it made me think that they had like shot this in a different way or whatever. But no, then the monkeys are in the plane. I'm like, you did it. You sons of bitches. You did it. You made these monkeys fly this plane. It's
the
so
whole
good.
Movie in my memory was like monkeys flying a plane for at least 45 minutes of my memory.
And I love how
There's
it's
like
not
an
even
Indiana Jones style map of the plane.
Exactly.
Just going across the country, stops in Newark.
In my mind, it was totally like military jets trying to chase a monkey flying a Cessna. Like I remembered that being the like third act of this.
I knew something was up. I didn't remember what happened to the plane at the end. I remembered them flying away at the end of the movie, but I didn't remember what happened to the plane. So when I see it this time, and I'm like, oh, when Broderick first hops in that plane, I'm like, oh, monkeys are gonna crash that plane. Like the second that I saw that plane show up, because it's so much older than the other planes that are on that tarmac.
I was going to say that is clearly not an actual like military plane. They just dressed it to look like one because that was the only one they're allowed to fly.
Right.
And what military plane are you fitting 4 people up in like that? That doesn't have some sort of artillery or whatever on it. That's a fucking boat plane, man. What are you doing?
I remember thinking though, the first thing that goes through my mind when they're climbing in is I don't believe they ever learned how to land. Like, yeah, they learned how to fly.
Oh, I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, this is the Muhammad Atta of monkeys. Man, they're only learning how to fly and not land. They don't do They're like, hey, listen, they get to the middle of it. And they tell the monkey just to turn off the machine. They don't, like, you're right. They don't land at all. They're just like, all right, good job. You took off and you're flying. Turn your machine off now. Oh, yeah, you better. I'm going to teach them to land.
Terrorists, I tell you.
Yep. So bad. But yet so good. And we finally see them out in like, you know, and I think that's what they're like, listen, we have this as a crashed helicopter or plane rather. That's what we've got to use. And then they're just out in the, hey, congratulations. You're out in Burbank now, monkeys. So
they're clearly not and definitely not the Serengeti there.
But they did say the Everglades is where the plane went
down.
Oh,
is that where it is, Everglades?
They're going to get eaten by crocodiles.
Yeah, put them in the crocodile pit. That's a great place for their monkeys.
Let me ask you guys: 5 monkeys or a crocodile? Who's going to win?
The crocodile's going to win against at least one of those monkeys. Now, I think 4 monkeys probably escape.
I think you got.
I'm talking in a fight, sir. In a fight, 4 monkeys or a crocodile.
So it's like a no retreat, no surrender. Like once the crocodile eats the first monkey, the other 4 kids say, "Screw this."
That's right. That's right.
Oh, that's rough because chimpanzees are tough, man. So while he's eating one, the others are going to be going to town.
Yeah.
But also an alligator's kind of just like leather armor.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know how the monkey. They got to go for the eyes, right? That's all they can do.
You're going. They're gonna lunge for that tail, but that's not gonna do any good.
I think they could grasp the concept because they're smart. You know, they're smarter than we are. I think they could grasp the concept of like grabbing the jaw because, you know, it's easier to hold a gator jaw closed than it is open or whatever.
Right.
So they probably could get onto that where you could reach a stalemate. But I don't know how they actually defeat the alligator.
I think bare minimum you need 8 to 10 minimum apes per one alligator.
You're going 10 monkey versus crocodile.
Oh,
I think that's
strong.
Yeah, well, that's the thing though. They're strong, but here's the problem. You're not wrong. It's like your alligators. They're basically wearing Kevlar, and they're all strong. So it's so long. You got so much to deal with. You need several monkeys. You need at least 2 to 3 monkeys on that tail alone just to hold that thing still.
Inevitably, the fight's going to take place in or near water. You know, so then you've got the whole drowning thing.
That's a little disadvantage for the apes, no doubt about that.
I mean, now turnabout's fair play. If somehow a gator finds itself in the top of a tree, advantage ape.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I think we just realized that we're putting him in a Roman Colosseum and just having them fight that way.
Oh no, I want to do like a best of 7 where like 3 of them are in a tree, 3 of them are in a swamp, and then one of them is in the octagon.
It's like the World Series, but they go to different cities.
I was going to say it's like Smash Brothers.
Yes.
You just get a little tier system there. That's all it takes. Let's get down to it, boy. Well, let's talk about this again. Matthew Broderick, is he the best in this? Is he the worst? Could he be replaced by a Michael J. Fox? What say you?
I think he's great.
I think he's an odd fit, but I like it. I find it endearing.
Yeah.
But if you were if you gave me the script and said construct a cast, I wouldn't have thought of him.
Yeah. And in 1987, Michael J. Fox can probably get this movie made in 1987, actually. But there's that one really great moment with Broderick in this movie where Helen Hunt asks if she can buy him a drink, and he turns to her and he says, "Can you buy me a drink?" And he says it so perfectly, where you're like, "Oh, right, he's been working with Neil Simon for years before we see him at Ferris Bueller's Day Off, so of course he's going to have that timing down." And it really comes through in that one moment. I don't think I said I thought he was great in this. I don't think he's great. I think he's good. I think that he is replaceable. You can replace him with other people, like you said earlier. You have convinced me. You have changed my mind, Mr. Adam Portress.
He's serviceable.
But I think he is. I think that he's good enough. I don't ever believe that man has ever flown a plane ever. But it doesn't matter because he's just so gosh darn charming, isn't he?
Looks like
totally
he came right out of
movie if you put Jan Michael Vincent in it.
Yeah, we got a tough
first
guy.
of all, you got to get him to stop slurring.
You gotta sober
Also,
him up for a week.
Can you take your nose out of the mountain of cocaine, sir? You've got some work to do.
All right,
you
fine.
think the monkey smoking was funny? Wait till you see a monkey with a rolled up hundo.
Hey, listen, we could have this Project X starring Wings Hauser.
Sure, but again, you get the same problem. You get the drinking problem.
Yep, it happens. All right, let's get down to it. There's only 2 forms a movie can come in: art or fart. Bruce, where does Project X from 87 fall on 87. The art or fart scale for you?
It's definitely art, man. It gives me joy, makes me happy, gives me good nostalgia, gives me some escapism. I've had trouble finding joy in stuff that we watched lately, but this one, no problems, man. It took me to a nice, warm, comfortable, safe place. So definitely art.
Art for you, Sean.
To me, it barely squeaks by with an art. I find this movie so middle of the road. It's so easily forgettable. But it's art. It's still art. I mean, you got Cundy shooting the damn thing. You got Matthew Broderick at the height of his Matthew Broderickness. And you got Sadler coming off the bench. Sadler. So those are 3 reasons to recommend it.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to recommend this thing at first. It was just like, it seemed like we were just going to fall off, but the more it went on, the more I was liking it, and it just it hit all those spots. You had Chekhov's monkey, and you finally, and you pulled the trigger, and it was quite worth it. And like I said, Matthew Broderick's pretty darn good.
Is a great ska band. I'm sorry.
It would be pretty good. But yeah, you've got Broderick doing what he's doing. He could be a little bit better. I wish he had maybe 20%, kind of more acting. There's a couple moments where you're just like, could we got a second take out of that one? We could have done that one a little bit better. But by and large,
do you have a moment in your head that you're thinking about when you say that?
Just a couple. There were, I forget exactly what they were, but there were a couple of like reaction lines from him that he was reacting to, like Helen Hunt or something else, where it was just like, that's what you went with? Just kind of like for lack of a better example, like Sonic's, oh no. It's kind of like that, where it's just, it feels like you just weren't paying attention when you were reading that line for some reason. I don't know. And it may be an ADR thing as well. That's also, quite a possibility where it just doesn't translate over well enough. That certainly happens.
I'm not questioning whether or not you think that he could do it better. I'm just wondering if you had specific moments.
Yeah, there's just I didn't point them out enough, but there were a couple of that I was just like, that's kind of a crummy line reading.
I think it felt a little.
A little phone-in-y.
I felt like it felt a little bit less than what I would expected from him when he's originally talking to the colonel or whatever, and he's telling the story about his girlfriend that he said he wasn't going to tell, and then here he is telling it. And I felt like that delivery was kind of growing pains level or family ties level, but not cinematic level.
If Bueller's 100%, we're rolling here at 70%. If Bueller's 100, this is 70. Because it's just dialed back. It's like it's not quite there. It's not quite hitting on that pace there. I don't want him to be Ferris in this movie, mind you. I just want him to care a little more. That's all.
Right. Hey, have you guys seen that really sad photo of Kirk Cameron's birthday?
I love it. Yes, with the subway.
That's the saddest part of all to me is that it's Subway, and it's not even like a big one. Like no one went out, no one called before. It was like, hey, let's get a big old Subway in here. You know, like
everyone had their own foot long.
It is the saddest looking thing you've ever seen in your life.
You know who's not sad? Our good buddy Nate. Nate wrote in regards to this episode, he said, thank you guys for doing this. I watched this movie a lot when I was a kid. It was probably the next post-Ferris movie I saw with Broderick, and I'm pretty sure that's why I was interested. But I only had a vague recollection of how the movie ended. I wasn't even sure I remembered it correctly or if it was a fever dream. I'm glad Chekhov's Flight Simulator monkey paid off. So yeah, man, like I said, this is a movie that you can't find a whole lot of places and stuff, but it's out there. I would like to see this kind of redone, and I think there's an audience that would watch this and have some fun with it, despite some of the downer monkey moments and stuff. Say what you will, but we got some good ass monkey moments, and like the one monkey getting blown up and like looking straight into the camera, and other monkeys flipping people off left and right. God bless.
It's a Disney property now. Maybe it'll make its way to Disney Plus.
Is it?
Maybe.
Who's this? Is it under
20th Century Fox?
Okay,
yeah,
that's
CBS
right.
Fox distributed it. I know that.
Oh, well, see, there you go. So there's no way in hell that's coming out. Perfect. Thanks, everybody, because they're smoking in the movie, and you can't have a monkey smoking, much less Matthew Broderick. So that sure as hell ain't going to happen. Speaking of Matthew Broderick, we got another Matthew Broderick movie coming here down the line. We're going from 1987 to 1989. We're staying in this nice early Matthew Broderick range here and everything. And let me tell you, boys, I have got some stories for next week's movie from 1989, Glory, starring one Matthew Broderick and his co-star that would then soon overtake him in every shape and form, Denzel Washington.
And this is a good one. If you've never seen it before, this is like a party movie. Invite your friends over, drink something, smoke something, play a little music in the background, project it outside on a big blow up screen, whatever you got to do.
I bought this movie in 4K for this film, everybody. And I've even read the director's book on it. So I've got nice. So much information for this thing. So we're going to be talking Glory from 1989 next week. Sean, where can they find other things that we do on the internet?
We've got a show called 30 Questions where we ask 30 questions of some nerdy property. Sometimes it's the Star Wars. Sometimes it's Marvel. Sometimes we like it. Sometimes you can tell we're saying things through gritted teeth. So check it out. Just put 30 questions into your podcatcher, and I'm sure one of our shows will come up.
Absolutely. And check out our Patreon. We'll mention a couple things, quick things here in the after show real fast about a couple of the D23 things, one or two of those things that I saw that I want to talk about for half a second. So check out the post show for that. That is it, everybody. Join us next week for another episode of HMP where we're talking Glory from 1989. For Bruce Leslie, Sweet Sounds of Kovacs from the internet, I'm Adam Portress reminding you that the only difference between art and fart is an F.